Good afternoon and welcome to week 2 of Composition 1. Last week you focused mostly on your introductions, getting to know your classmates and how the class works, reading the syllabus, basically becoming familiar with the course. This week we're going to jump right into writing, and today I wanted to go over just a little introduction to writing and why we write. Everyone is a writer. If you write a text today or an email or just even in your introduction in the discussion forum, those are forms of writing. Everybody is a writer. And becoming a successful writer or a good writer will help you in everything that you do academically and as well as in the job market. And here's a couple of quotes from some of my favorite writers. You may have your favorite writers. This first one is from Ernest Hemingway. It says, "There is nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed." And sometimes that's what it feels like. It feels like bleeding. Ernest Hemingway was a journalist and obviously a novelist. He had a very adventurous lifestyle. I'm sure you probably have heard that. He wrote from from about 1920 in the 20s to the mid 50s. He wrote books you may have heard of, For Whom the Bell Tolls and The Old Man and the Sea. Eudora Welty here is my second favorite writer. She was a journalist. She was also a good photographer, and she wrote a lot of nonfiction about the South. She was born and lived most of her life in Jackson, Mississippi. I've even visited her home. I'm such a fan of her writing, but she was born in 1909 and died in Jackson in 2001. And one of my favorite quotes on writing from her is, "To write honestly and with all our powers is the least we can do, and the most. Our writing changes the world." But writing is hard, isn't it? I know in a lot of the introductions I read, everyone or most of the people who were honest said that writing is hard. It was hard for me when I started school, and I've spent 10 years learning to write, and I still think it's hard. So people who write for a living have trouble getting thoughts on paper. People who not think of themselves as good writers find writing assignments stressful. That's true for so many of you, I'm sure. You can't get through college without having to write, however, at a level higher than you're used to, than high school. And there must be, and some people believe there must be a magic formula for those who write well, and it's not true. Everybody struggles with writing. And but there are some strategies and resources that we can use to get through these assignments. You can write well about anything. Why is writing important? Well, first of all, it's communication. And another reason is that writing helps you clarify and articulate your thoughts. Putting ideas on paper helps you kind of figure them out, to evaluate them. Writing your thoughts down may even help you grasp them better. Writing helps us communicate ideas. It's communication. We use writing in college, jobs, socially. It's just basic communication. But most of us, under pressure especially of a deadline, run into writer's block. It's more of a wall, I believe, but it is real. And it happens most often, like I said, when you're under pressure. Maybe you've procrastinated, so don't procrastinate. To break through that wall, as I call it, instead of a block, you can try free writing. Or you can follow your inspiration. Begin with writing the part of the paper you know the best. Maybe it's the middle and not necessarily the introduction and the conclusion. Break it down into chunks. Go back and review the assignment. Talk about it. Discuss it with your classmates, your friends, your family. Visualize your audience. What does your audience want to know about the subject that you're writing about? And my favorite, of course, is take a break. Try working on something else. Go outside, take a walk, mow the yard, buy groceries. Do something to take a short break. Don't let that break become the habit, though, where you spend more time on the break than you do the writing. Change locations. Maybe if you get up from your computer and go write in another room or in the library. And remember, it is temporary. It won't last. This is the rhetorical triangle that writers use and have been using. Writers, speakers, communicators have been using since Aristotle. He is the philosopher that first introduced the audience purpose. And usually it says writer, but here it says tone, and that has to do more with the voice that you're using. So it still has to do with the writer. And you can see this triangle done all different ways. It depends on the type of writing that you're doing. But for our purposes, it's audience, purpose, and tone. You need to know these three things before you decide on the content, the part that you write, the writing. One audience will want statistics and another audience may want some humor. It depends on who you're writing to. And it also depends on your purpose. Why are you writing it? Are you writing to inform or entertain? That will determine your tone. Will you be flippant or use slang words, or will you use jargon and industry-specific words? That will determine your content. Will it be a website or a proposal, or in the case of this class, a 3-page essay? These three elements determine the content of your assignments. All right, let's talk about the purpose. This is the reason that you write. It answers the questions why. Am I trying to, like I said, inform, or am I trying to entertain? And in academic writing, you will do 4 things. You will summarize, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate. These 4 main purposes are in every piece of academic writing that you'll do. The audience. Different audiences require different content, like I said before with the triangle. Determining the invisible audience is a skill you already possess. When you write a text or you read or write an email, you don't have that audience in front of you, but you've already decided. You understand that audience even without even being able to see them. It helps you, knowing the audience focuses on who you are writing. Let me say that again. Focusing on who you are writing for makes your finished product better. And you can use your imagination to get a picture of your intended audience. Consider things like the demographics. That would be their age, where they live, how much money they make, their education, how much do they know about the topic that you're writing about, and what do they expect from you. If you keep these things in mind, you'll have a better view of your audience. And here's just a quick example. I'm not going to read this, but this is the same information written to 2 different audiences. You can see that one is very formal, and then of course the second is for a different audience, and it's very informal. All right, tone. This is about the writer. This is about you. The tone identifies your attitude toward the subject. And I know you know this, when you're in a conversation with someone, you can tell by their tone what their attitude is about the subject or what's going on. Writers use word choices, sentence structure, formal and informal language to transmit a tone or emotion. And the tone should always match the audience and purpose. Content. Content refers to all the written substance of a document. It may consist of examples, statistics, facts, anecdotes, testimonies, everything that you use to support your purpose. Next, we're going to talk about the writing process. A few minutes ago, I mentioned that some believe there should be some sort of magical formula that helps you write. There is not. It is not step 1 and step 2 like you're putting together a table with instructions that come out of the IKEA box. It's a process. It goes back and forth. And here are some of the places that it goes. It's pre-writing, drafting, revising, and editing. These are all parts of the writing process. Pre-writing is that first draft. It's getting all your information together. It's helping you choose. It's when you choose a topic and narrow your topic. It's who you decide about, what you decide about your audience. It's about brainstorming your topic. And here's some techniques listed here: idea mapping, free writing, listing, and then asking questions. And then once you narrow you must narrow your focus and avoid very broad topics. And also includes the research. This is when you get all your information together. Work on that first draft. This is an example of webbing or mapping. This is listing, just the different parts of mass media, what you might want to write about mass media. And then, of course, the questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. This will help you pre-write. This is a quote from Louis L'Amour, who was a famous, or who was a famous novelist. Start writing no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on. You got to start somewhere. Drafting. This is the stage where you take your pre-writing and actually make a draft. It's the goal is to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Stop if you have to. Take breaks. Set reasonable goals. Keep your audience and purpose in mind as you write. These are the elements of a first draft: an introduction, a thesis statement, a topic sentence, and each paragraph should have supporting sentences and also a topic sentence and a conclusion sentence. And then your whole essay should have a conclusion. Revising and editing are two different things. Revising is reading through after you've finished a draft and rewriting sentences, maybe moving paragraphs back and forth. Editing is line editing, is what I call it, where you actually look for grammatical issues, spelling, punctuation. And this goes back, and this is so true. You can always edit a bad page, but you cannot edit a blank page. Revising means taking a second look at your ideas, what you want to cut, add, move, or change. After you finish your first draft, walk away for a little bit. Ask someone to read it, or maybe see a tutor, and then start revising. Editing is the next step. Like I said, after revising, you'll look at your spelling, grammar, punctuation, and fine-tuning. A word after a word after a word is power. If you can put a word after a word after a word, you have power. If you have any questions about any of this, just send me an email. You'll be reading about this in your reading assignment and talking about this in the discussion board. Please let me know if you have any questions.